This is the Jocko Underground Podcast, number 73, with Echo Charles sitting across from me, and me, Jocko Willing. So I was at a Jiu Jitsu tournament recently, and I was coaching one of our students who's a blue belt. Mm-hmm. And she wrestled in high school. She has a good background in Jiu Jitsu. She might be related to me. So she did started off the day. You know, we had a bunch of people from Victory there, but the tournament started off with gi. She did gi. She did great. She won gold in that one, and then in no gi, which she wrestled in high school. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, you're thinking it's gonna be.
That's kind of our her AO. And anyways, she lost her first. She's going against a really, really good bunch of really good girls. I mean, a blue belt right now, and actually no gi. So some of these girls are not blue belts. Some of them maybe purple belts or whatever. I don't necessarily know what these other women were, but she lost her first match, and so she got done, and she's got another match coming up. And before she started her next match, I gave her a little time. Because the last thing you do, like when someone walks off after losing, is immediately just go into critique mode, because that ain't going to land. Yeah. Especially with my daughter. It ain't going to land at all. So, I just didn't say anything, let her chill. And then when she's getting ready, she kind of gave me a look like, what do you got? What should I do? And I was like, cool. I had permission to speak. And so I told her, I just said, hey, don't accept anything. And she knew what I was talking about. She knew that in the previous match, which was a tough match, she lost 2-0, but she accepted some things, and she knew what I was talking about. And it happens. It happens in jiu-jitsu, and it happens in life. So, and she actually won the match where she didn't accept anything. She won that next match, and all good. But so rolling with Dean, if I roll with Dean Lisch, who's a world champion guy, really good, naturally incredibly gifted jiu-jitsu player. If I go onto the mat and I'm like, oh, no big deal if he does this, no big deal, I'm gonna get murdered. Mm-hmm. You have to go in. When I train with Dean, most days, there's some days if he's having a horrible day, maybe I can accept a little bit. But if I want to go in there and actually do well, I can't accept anything. Yeah. Think about that. I cannot accept anything. I can't accept it. I have to fight everything. And if I accept it, I get murdered. Okay? So if you're going with someone that's better than you, this is kind of like what you have to do, especially if someone has a tight game, right? Mm-hmm. Someone has a tight game and you accept, they're gonna destroy you. Here's another thing, like I say, you should never voluntarily let someone close their guard on you. There's another thing that people get used to accepting, right? And look, is there a time for it? Yes, there is. But most of the time, you don't accept someone to do that. Don't let them do it. Don't accept it. You have to watch out for that. Don't accept the takedown. I had Jeremy Stevens, UFC. It was the first fight where he had moved out here to San Diego to train. And he was fighting Rafael Dos Anjos, okay? And Jeremy Stevens is a freaking awesome guy. And he's from Iowa. He wrestled in high school. But his jiu-jitsu, this is when he first got here. This is probably 10 years ago. Something like that. Yeah. It's maybe even more than 10 years. It's more than 10 years ago. He did not know jiu-jitsu. He was an actual white belt in jiu-jitsu. An actual white belt in jiu-jitsu. And he's fighting Rafael Dos Anjos, who's a world beater in jiu-jitsu. A black belt in jiu-jitsu. And so Jeremy's fighting him. I think the fight was in Chicago, And we're getting ready. You can't teach someone. We have, 5 weeks to get him ready. You can't teach someone jiu-jitsu in 5 weeks. You show them a couple basic things. You can't teach them jiu-jitsu. You can't teach someone to survive against a black belt on the mats in 5 weeks. You cannot do it. So I was like, listen, you cannot get taken down. Do not accept the takedown at all, ever, against this guy. If he takes you down, you're gonna fucking die.
Sure.
And he went in there And dude, this guy was trying to take him down. And look, Jeremy had like high school level wrestling, but more important, he had the mindset. He was not going to accept the takedown. It wasn't. I said, hey, listen, if you start getting taken down, before you hit the ground, you're getting back up. You're getting away from him. You fight like you're going to die if you go down. And that's what he did. And in the third round, he knocked Dos Anjos into freaking next year, bro. Like, it's one of the. It's a highlight. Yeah. It's a highlight. All-time highlight of UFC is his uppercut from the depths of hell and blew Dos Anjos' consciousness out of the stadium. Yeah. In the third round, after fighting off takedowns, just would not accept it. Mm-hmm. So this happens in real life as well. We allow things to happen that we should not accept. We should not accept. We allow ourselves to get out of shape. You see people like that? Yeah. You didn't get out of shape overnight. You accepted it day after day after day after day. Mm-hmm. We let ourselves get into bad financial situations. We accept it a little bit at a time. I'll just put this on credit. I'll just get another credit card. That's what we do. Mm-hmm. We accept doing a job or living a life that we really don't want to live. And what I'm saying is do not accept that. And I'm not telling you to be rash. I'm not telling you to go to work tomorrow and quit your job. I'm not telling you to starve yourself if you're fat right now or you're out of shape. But I'm telling you, don't accept it. Figure a way out. It doesn't need to be rash. Let me give you an example. You ever seen the movie Shawshank Redemption?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He's not accepting his fate. And how long does it take him in that movie to get out of prison? It's like 10 years, right?
I think it was like 19 years.
19 years, bro. Yeah. He's plotting, but he doesn't accept it. Everyone else in that movie accepts it. Accepts it to the point that when they get out, they don't want to be out. That's how much they accept their fate. So that's what I'm saying. There's things in life where you cannot accept them. And if you accept them a little bit, you lose everything. Now look, since we're talking jiu-jitsu a little bit, like Jeff Glover has a way of like over accepting things that works for him, right? Yeah. Like he'll let someone's going to take his back, he'll roll into it and roll right through it, right? Mm. And you can do that too. I've done that in my life. It's something that I don't really want to do, but I just go for it. I go all in. Like when I went to college, I didn't want to go to college. I just went all in and acted like crazy at college. Just did everything. Just went for it. So that was my way of winning in a situation that I didn't want to be in. I was like, okay, you know what? If I'm in a situation that I don't like, I'm gonna have fun winning at it. Yeah. I went into it. But that's the thing to do. And as much as I talk, look, and there's obviously a contradiction here. I talk all the time about being flexible and taking the indirect approach. And that's the answer, right? Most of the time. But when it comes to your life from a strategic perspective, when you look at your whole life, or you look at certain situations on the jiu-jitsu mat, or you look at certain situations at work, from a strategic perspective, look, you can play the games, you can be flexible, you can take the indirect approach, but make sure that you're not accepting things that you don't truly want to accept. And find a way out, even if it takes 19 years. Start today. That's what I got for you.
That's funny. You mentioned Jeff Glover. Mm-hmm. Yeah, his way, because it's technically a bigger like picture, more like a more profound level of not accepting it. It's more like I'm going to accept it for a greater unacceptance. Yeah. You know. So it's almost like, and if you apply it like to outside of jiu-jitsu, it's like, hey, if you see little things creeping in, little things that you don't want creeping in, whether it be complacency or whatever, workouts, a lot of times like you're about to do a workout or something and you're like, oh shoot, I got to finish this thing. It's important, so I'm going to finish it. And you're like, oh my gosh, I had an hour to work out and I only have 45 minutes. And then some people are like, hey, I'll just do it tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Or even 30 minutes. They'll be like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. They'll be like, no, jump in there and you better do everything you can, kind of a thing, right? But Jeff Glover is like, okay, I'm not going to work out today, but I'm going to make it so whatever I do in that 30 minutes is going to be like, oh, dang, I'm at the end of like whatever day that is or whatever week or whatever. You're going to be kind of glad you did this other thing rather than the workout. Almost like my lack of time for the workout kind of provided this thing that I figured out right then and there is going to be even more beneficial.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, maybe you're in a job that you don't like. So then you're like, you know what? I'm going to get so good at this that I can get promoted and not have to do it anymore.
Exactly. That's right. It. Or just pay attention to other things.
So by not accepting it, you're like, I don't accept this position I'm in. I'm going to work so hard at it that I get out of it.
Yeah. And just that little mind shift or whatever will like make you go in a completely different direction. And it kind of helps your attitude too, man. Like your whole college thing and the paperwork story that you always tell or whatever, man, if you can really like embrace that or whatever, you're going to be... Because at the end of doing paperwork or at the end of doing college or whatever, you're kind of like, you kind of killed college. College is a good thing. So like if you want to do your garage, I don't know, I'm thinking of my life. So it's like all the garage like needs some clearing out, you know. But I'm not going to do that kind of stuff, you know. Meanwhile, it just gets more, you know, stuff that comes in. I'm like, all right, I'll get that put in the garage. So it's just getting worse and worse. If I was like, you know what, no, I'm going to embrace it super hard. I'm going to go hard with the garage. When it's done, you're going to be way happier. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's almost like if I just accept, okay, well, I guess we're not using the garage for our cars anymore. That. Yeah, exactly, right. And then boom, not only did you more enjoy something that you didn't before, the garage is done. See what I'm saying? It can be your whole life.
I like it.
I like it.
All right, let's get some questions.
First question, Jocko Echo. Huge fan. The podcast helped me tremendously throughout the last few years. I'm 29 years old, and I want to be...
That is a little excerpt of what we are doing on the Jocko Underground podcast. So if you want to continue to listen, go to jockounderground.com and subscribe. And we're doing this to mitigate our reliance on external platforms so we are not subject to their control. And we're doing it so we can give you more control, more interaction, more direct connections, better communications with us, strengthen this legion of troopers that are in the game with us. So thank you. It's jockounderground.com. It costs $8.18 a month. And if you can't afford to support us, we can still support you. Just email assistance@jockounderground.com and we'll get you taken care of. Until then, we will see you mobilized underground.